So this is like the Shags edition, man. So came to see my grandma. It's been a minute since I saw her. But anyway, of course, you know, when I do these videos, I'm gonna be answering a question or two. So there's this question we've been getting a lot, especially during the webinars. And by the way, shout out to everyone who actually makes the time to actually come through for the webinars that we do every morning, the daily analysis. If you haven't joined, make sure you click on the link. It's going to be in the description. You can end up joining. So the one thing that I've been seeing a lot of guys asking, even on email, is how do we end up handling losses? And this is quite an interesting one because, of course, when you do end up coming into FX, losses are part of the game. But you know that when most people do end up joining the world of Forex, you think that losses are inevitable. No matter how much education you end up getting, you will still end up incurring losses. So what I can say is Forex trading is more about risk management. It's not really much about rewards. I know everyone comes in for the money, but the money is the last thing you're going to end up getting. You do need to end up probably managing your risk better. So how we end up doing it, and of course make sure that you do focus more on risk rather than reward if you do want to make it in FX. That way you're gonna actually go far in this thing. So the way we normally tend to do it is, okay, personally, the way I do it, but of course when I do speak, I think even our team ends up doing this because it's something that we've taught them to do over the years. So we normally do something we call the best of 5. So what normally happens is we take the first trade, and we normally take one trade at a time. I know there are people who are in the habit of taking so many trades at a time, but us guys are in the habit of taking one trade at a time. So take the first trade. If you do end up winning that first trade, then you do end up going to take the second trade. And if you do end up taking the second trade and you do end up making money on it, then you do end up being eligible to take a third trade. So you can end up taking a third trade. If you do end up winning that trade, then you can take a fourth. If you end up winning the fourth, you can take the fifth, and that's the last trade you're going to be taking. So that way it stops me from over trading. That means that when I'm on a winning streak, I keep going. On the other hand, if I do end up losing the first trade, I'm eligible for a second trade, which means if I do end up losing the second trade, I'll end up with 2 losses for that day. If I do end up the first trade and I still do end up winning the second trade, then it's okay, because I'll end up having 1 win and 1 loss, which means I can never go past 2 losses max on any given day. So in case I do end up taking the third trade, let's say I won the first trade and the second trade, and I do end up losing the third trade, then I'll end up with 1 loss and 2 wins, and that's where my trading ends. So I keep going for as long as I'm winning. So if I do win the first trade, I'm eligible for the second. If I do lose the first trade, I'm still eligible for the second trade. But if I do win the second trade and I'd lost the first trade, then I'm not eligible for the third. I know it may sound a bit confusing for guys who've not heard about this before, but that's how we do end up managing risk. If you end up doing that, it means that when you're on a winning streak, you know, you keep on going. You know, when you end up being on a losing streak, at least you know that the maximum number of losses you can get are 2. So if you do end up losing the first 2 trades, then that means that, you know, your trading day is over. You wait until the next day. You'll probably end up having more opportunities the next day. You know, this thing of fighting with the markets, that's how you end up losing a lot of money in FX. Sometimes you just need to make sure you just take a break, step away from the charts, you know, and everything is gonna be fine. You know, you don't need to trade as if the world is ending today. You know, you just need to make sure that every trade that you do end up taking, make sure that you do end up factoring in your risk, which is also important, something that most people don't actually end up factoring in. I know that we all want to make our millions of dollars and our billions in one day, and that would be awesome. But unfortunately, in the real world, things don't work like that. This is a business just like any other. So taking losses, make sure that you end up taking calculated losses. And of course, you do end up taking losses in a manner that is also comfortable to you. if you end up doing that, and you can end up implementing what it is that I've told you, if you think that it's something that's worthwhile to you, can try out the best of 5, see how it goes. That way at least you'll end up mitigating and managing your risk way better. So of course, if you do end up having any questions, feel free to email us. Of course, you can end up emailing me. I know that most guys have really been sending a lot of emails, especially from the earlier videos that I did, but you can still end up reaching out to me, jembulgwa@afri-fx.com. I'd be more than happy to get back to you. Of course, feel free to join us every morning for the daily analysis. Us guys would be more than happy. We've been getting a lot of feedback from guys about that. Us guys are more than happy, so feel free to also join. The link is in the description. And also do remember, subscribe and like. But with that, I want to wish you a happy trading day, and as always, happy trading, guys, and may the peeps be with you. See you in the next video.